Welcome to Garden Delights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Extension. Today we're going to talk about sweet potatoes. We're also going to hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, and he's going to talk a little bit about the drought. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. We're going to be talking about sweet potatoes today, and you know, that's one of my favorite vegetables, especially this time of year. They are so good for you, and if you don't like sweet potatoes, try to start liking them because they're so good for you. But sweet potatoes, you know, with the drought, and you're going to hear from Frank talking about the drought, when we grow sweet potatoes, sometimes they could be really hard to dig up with the drought that we're having. But sweet potatoes are so good for us as far as the nutrition. And you know, about a cup of sweet potatoes, and really after you bake these three, you're going to probably get about a cup. And so out of all those three right there, you're going to get 180 calories from 1 cup of sweet potatoes, which is excellent. So that means if you only ate one, your calories would be very low. These sweet potatoes, though, are loaded with vitamin A, vitamin C, potassium. They're cholesterol-free, they're fat-free. So you can see they're just loaded with all good nutrients and minerals. Now, when you're selecting those potatoes, sweet potatoes, when you're buying them at the store, you want to look for smooth, you want to look for firm potatoes. And I will tell you that they will decay easily if you don't look at them really well. Make sure they don't have any cuts on them because that's important also. And just look at them in general before you buy them. And the same thing when you're digging them up. You want to make sure that you don't hit it with a shovel or whatever you're digging them with. Because if you hit one and it opens it up, it's going to decay very quickly. So look for smooth, firm, nice potatoes, and different varieties are going to have different sizes. And so they're also going to be different colors when you're looking at your sweet potatoes. So just think about that when you're buying them. And then when you're going to store those sweet potatoes, they need to be stored in a cool, dry place, well ventilated place, because you want them to store for about 3 to 5 weeks. So that's a long time. Now let's say that you don't have anything in mind as far as what you're going to do with those sweet potatoes. You can always freeze them and bring them back out, and you can even keep them whole if you want to and freeze them just like this as far as after you take the skin off, wrap them up, bring them back out, and you've got a sweet potato ready to go. Or if you're going to make a recipe with them, they are ready to go. So just remember that if you can't figure out what you're going to do in the 3 to 5 weeks that you're going to keep those sweet potatoes, think about how you can keep them for a little bit longer and store them in the freezer by following some good directions on how to do that. So when we come back, we're going to hear from Frank Hancock, and he's going to talk a little bit about the drought. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights.
Okay, today I thought we'd talk a little bit about the drought. When we have a drought like we've got going on right now, there's a lot of things that fall into play. I know you've all seen the smoke coming through McDonough from the fires that are burning up in North Georgia, and without any rainfall, they just seem to continue to burn. There's an aerial photograph of the smoke that's coming out of North Georgia that makes its way down here from time to time, and those fires have burned for a pretty good while. As a result of the drought and the fires, the Henry County Fire Department has put a restriction on all burning, no burning whatsoever. I think you can still use your propane barbecue grill to cook outside with, but other than that, you can't burn leaves, you can't have a fire in a fire ring in the backyard. You can't burn anything. So a total restriction until further notice. So those are some side effects of having a drought like we have. Some of this reminds me of back when we had the drought back in 2007. Our normal rainfall is somewhere around 50 inches a year. On the average, it gets pretty close. Sometimes it's in the 40s. But back in 2006, I think we had about 30 inches of rainfall from January through November. And as a result of that, you know, we kind of got through 2006 pretty good, but as we rolled into 2007 then didn't have but 26 inches of rainfall during that same time period. And if you recall, the reservoirs dried up at Lake Lanier and all. You'd see pictures on the news where the water was just strictly going away. So as we worked through that, and as a matter of fact, during that same time frame, we had CBS News came down here to McDonough and interviewed one of our cattle farmers talking about the drought. They went out to a stream that had actually dried up. It really affects the farmers when you have a drought like this. You move to 2016, and again, we're in that 30-inch of rain. For example, in 2015, we had 51 inches of rain, and it rained for 134 days. There were 134 rainy days. So in 2016, we got 30 inches of rain, and it's only rained for 89 days. The good news is those days that it rained back at the beginning of the year, they filled up our reservoirs, and so we haven't run into quite the water shortage that we had in 2007. But 2017, if we don't pick up some rain here, could turn out to be more like 2007 with lower volumes in the reservoirs. So that's just to give you an idea. Generally 134. 2014 was 121 days it rained, and 2013 had 125 days that it rained, had 50 inches of rain that year. So rainfall is important. So Henry County, as you look at the map, we're right in the middle of the drought area, in the heavy drought. So we have been moved to a level 2 drought, which places some water restrictions on us. The EPD, Environmental Protection Division of the Georgia Natural Resources, came out with a press release explaining that we were going to level 2 drought. And in the level 2 drought, there are things that you can and can't do. We'll talk about some of the things that are exempt, things that you can do. Commercial pressure washing is still okay. If you're using drip irrigation with a soaker hose, which is what we recommend most of the time anyway, that can still be used. You can still water your garden, your food garden. You can do hand watering with a hose as long as the nozzle shuts off when you turn it loose. You still can do hydro seeding, installation and maintenance of irrigation systems. They allow the people that are installing irrigation systems to test those systems so that they can run them during that test. You can still irrigate public recreation areas. Plants for sale, sports fields, and water from private wells and bodies of water on property that they're not restricted. And then water from alternate sources like rainwater, air conditioning, condensate, or gray water. I don't know where you're going to get the rainwater from right now, but those are not covered. So what you need to be aware of is, like if you're irrigating your lawn with an irrigation system, if you've got an even address or if you have no address, You can water on Wednesdays or Saturdays. If you from the hours of 4 p.m. to 10 a.m. In other words, through the night. That's the best time to water anyway, because the water does more good before the sun evaporates it. The plant gets more use out of it. And then if you've got an odd address, you can water on Thursdays and Sundays in that same time period, 4 p.m. to 10 a.m. So those are just things that you need to know, and that's your automatic irrigation systems, your hand watering without a shut-off nozzle, and lawn sprinklers, those kind of things. So be aware that we do have a serious drought going on. Now, what that means to especially to our cattle farmers because of the drought, and I just got a copy here of the market bulletin. It says no end in sight to the drought conditions in Georgia. And you can see this, that Henry County, you've got abnormally dry, moderately dry, severe drought, extreme drought, and then exceptional drought. So Henry County is in this little section right here that has the extreme drought. So we're not just, or exceptional drought. So we're not just average drought, we got exceptional drought going on here. And what that does to our cattlemen, we've got cattlemen that have had to start feeding hay 2 or 3 months before they normally would start feeding any hay because of the loss of pasture grass. It's just not growing through the drought. So because they have to start feeding hay early, and because the hay fields have also got a loss, so they're not cutting as much hay as they once did, they're having to buy hay from wherever they can find it, in some cases out of state. So they've got to add the shipping cost and all of that to the price of their feed, plus they're having to feed more grain because they don't have grass. And then in addition to that, when you come into the fall where they would normally be planting their winter grazing crops or winter foraging, it's not germinating. It is so dry that the seed's not germinating, so they have delayed planting that until spring. So now they're not going to have any forage grasses through the winter like they normally would have in a year when they were having rain. So all of those things just play into being a problem. So some of them are taking their cattle to the sale. They're not carrying any extra head through the winter, and they're having to buy hay. And because so many of them are being taken to market, now the price of the cattle is going down because the market's getting flooded with cattle. And so you got high feed prices, high grain prices, plus low cattle prices, and it's quite a catastrophe there on our local farmers and especially our cattlemen and other folks that require pasture and hay to raise their livestock. So that's just a little brief summary there of what's going on. So we'll go see what Susan is fixing for us.
Welcome back to Garden Delights. I hope you learned a lot from Frank. And now we're going to make a sweet potato, but it's going to be a little twist on the pie that I'm going to make. It is a no-bake sweet potato cheesecake. And this one, you don't bake. You just put it all together, put it in the refrigerator, and you're ready to go. And you know, we get so used to the same old sweet potato, so I thought, well, let's do a little twist and let's do something different. So I'm going to tell you what we have. You're going to need first, you're going to need a graham cracker crust. And I did use the light one, so if you can use that, that would be great because you're trying to cut a little bit of calories. And this is cream cheese. This is the 8 ounce. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my bowl. And this is fat-free cream cheese. So I'm trying to keep the calories down. So we're going to try to do that. And then also, I have a half a cup of sugar. And I have a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the cinnamon inside the sugar. And I'm just going to kind of mix it around. And if you like other spices in your sweet potatoes, you are welcome to add a substitute. But I'm just going to do good old cinnamon today in the recipe. So I'm just going to mix it in with my sugar a little bit. And then what I'm going to do now is I have a cup of cooked sweet potatoes. And so you saw the 3 that I had in the show earlier. And it's amazing, once you cook the sweet potatoes, they will shrink up. And it's amazing how maybe 2 to 2.5 was going to make that cup that you're going to need. So always bake enough sweet potatoes so you'll have enough. And if you bake too many, it's okay. You can eat a sweet potato baked if you want to later in your recipe, or eat it when you want to as far as a meal too. So either way. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to cut the mixer on. Also, it is really good if you can to have everything at room temperature, because you want the cream cheese to mix creamy into your sweet potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'll add my sugar. And it's going to turn the cream cheese into a nice color, and you'll see. I'm just going to kind of mix it, and it does help it when it is at room temperature. It's going to cream a lot easier. All right, so I'm going to add my sugar and my cinnamon, and I'm going to mix it in with it. I'm going to stack a little bit of this. All right, we're going to mix the rest of it. And if you could smell that cinnamon and sugar, it smells wonderful in these potatoes. And you want to make sure you get your sweet potatoes all mixed up in. I'm going to have to use my little scraper to scrape the sides off in just a second. And this is going to, it goes really nicely in the refrigerator, and it will firm up as you keep it in the refrigerator. And you want to do it for about 3 hours too, to make sure it's firm before you start serving it. I'm going to mix it up just a little bit more. And that's what you're looking for into that part of it, as far as the cream cheese, the sweet potatoes, and the cinnamon and the sugar. Now the last part that I'm going to add is Cool Whip. And you want to make sure that your Cool Whip is not frozen, because if it's frozen, it's not going to mix in your pie very well. So make sure it has been put in your refrigerator so that it will come out easy. And what you're going to do is, the recipe is going to say about 2.5 cups. So I'm going to get a pretty good bit out. And I may leave just a part of the bottom of the Cool Whip. And if you really want to top your pie when you get done, you can for later. So that's about 2.5 cups of Cool Whip. And so I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to mix it in to the other part of it. I'm going to see if I can turn my mixer just a little bit. So you just want to mix this all together. And this is going to make it a little bit fluffier too before you put it into your pie. And you want to make sure you mix it all together, because we still want that good golden color of a sweet potato. Now, if you're using other types of sweet potatoes, these are from Mississippi actually, and they're famous in Mississippi for growing sweet potatoes. And of course, there's North Carolina that has them. But whatever you use is probably going to depend on the color of your pie also. So there's other potatoes out there, sweet potatoes, that are going to be a little bit redder. So depending on what you use, you're going to see a different color in your pie. So I almost have it mixed up really good. You just want to mix it really good so you don't see any of the Cool Whip. You want to make sure you see all that good golden color. And also too, it helps to do with the spatula, because you want to get from the bottom, and you want to make sure the bottom and the sides are all mixed in well. And so that's what you're looking for in the pie part of it. So now you're going to use a graham cracker crust. I'm going to stack this over here. And I'm going to move that into my area. So all you need to do is you're going to put this inside your pie crust. And I'm going to try to make sure I get every little piece of it out of that bowl. And it will fill up this pie shell very well. And if you wanted to make 2 pies, you could just double the recipe and make 2 pies very easily. And I will tell you this, that you're in a hurry, need to go somewhere and you want dessert, you got some sweet potatoes on standby, this would be a great dessert to take. And you don't have to heat your house up either, so that's another good thing. So you're just going to push it out to your pie crust just like this. And I'm just going to smooth it just a little bit on top. And it smells so good. And there you go. No-bake sweet potato cheesecake. So all you need to do is chill it for about 3 hours in your refrigerator, and after that, it is ready to go. So Frank and I will see you back in just a little bit, and we'll be tasting this sweet potato cheesecake. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Frank, we have a little twist on the pie this time. It's not just that regular sweet potato pie.
Okay.
It's a no-bake sweet potato cheesecake pie that's been in the refrigerator.
Because I've been waiting to eat a sweet potato pie.
I know it. I knew you would be. But I just had a little twist on it, and I didn't want you to know for sure what we were going to do. So I'm going to let you taste it. And here we go. If I can get it up without making a mess.
It doesn't matter. I eat it anyway.
I didn't get the crust as good as I wanted to. You want the rest of the crust?
Sure.
I didn't cut it deep enough is what I didn't do. Hold on. I'm just going to put it on top.
I'm going to taste it. I need the whole thing.
You need the whole thing. Hold on. I don't want to finger it too much. Grab your fork up there for me. There you go. There you go. That's your crust.
All right. Thank you.
I guess I was thinking I had gone all the way down, but I didn't go all the way down. There we go. Well, it's a little different.
It's good.
And it's cold. And I got it all over my fingers. So.
It's good. Yeah, I could like that.
Mm-hmm. You can taste the sweet potatoes in it.
It'd be good for Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes. And the graham cracker crust gives it a little bit different taste than a regular pie shell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good.
I'm not talking about sweet potatoes, though.
I know that.
I talked about the drought.
I heard you talked about the drought, which is a good thing, especially this time of year and what's been going on with gardens and everybody trying to get their garden going because we haven't had a good garden because of the drought.
No rain.
That's exactly right.
Hot and dry.
You got it. You got it.
Just like on the desert.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Check out the website for the recipe. You're going to really like it. And Frank and I will see you back next time on Garden Delights.
Like I always say,